When most people think of fairground rides, they picture simple, fun attractions that are built to be set up and taken down in a matter of hours. But the Höllenblitz roller coaster is far from your typical traveling ride. This isn't just a roller coaster, it's an opulent, fully themed experience that gets carefully disassembled and transported from fair to fair, bringing a level of presentation rarely seen in the world of traveling rides. And back in the 1990s, Höllenblitz set a new standard for how a fairground ride could look and feel. Originally known as Magic Mountain, this ride's dark fantasy theming was only the beginning. It then evolved into Star World, a sci-fi extravaganza that paid homage to Star Wars, before ultimately finding its true identity as the Indiana Jones-inspired Höllenblitz. With elaborate, intricate theming that would rival anything at a permanent amusement park, this ride raised the bar for fairground attractions. The quality of the presentation was simply unmatched for its time. And here's one more thing. Höllenblitz may have been the last roller coaster from the legendary Schwarzkopf, one of the greatest manufacturers in the industry. Today we're going to take a deep dive into the fascinating transformation of this ride and how it became one of the most talked about attractions in the fairground world. Chapter 1: Magic Mountain, 1992 to 1997. The Rinaldi family of showmen operated various rides at German fairgrounds for generations. From small children's carousels to the Huss UFO to the large ghost train Geisterschlucht, which still travels through the fairgrounds today as the Dämonium. For 1992, the Rinaldis planned the world's largest indoor roller coaster, although this claim probably refers more to the fact that the ride is not stationary in an amusement park. Not only was Magic Mountain intended to be the world's largest indoor roller coaster, it was also to feature rotating cars and be lavishly themed, possibly inspired by the then popular dark fantasy genre in movies such as The Neverending Story, Labyrinth, Conan, or games such as Hero Quest, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and the very popular German role-playing game The Dark Eye. The ride's facade was themed accordingly. In 1992, the world's largest transportable indoor roller coaster finally premiered at Frankfurt's Dippemess Fair. The design featured a fantastical scenery of flying dragons, devils and Medusa heads. The two talking animated gorillas at the front entertained the enthusiastic spectators. They were a real highlight. Also, take a note of this climbing guy animatronic. We will meet him again later. Meanwhile, inside, passengers rode through the fantastical Magic Mountain and were entertained with plenty of action. Unfortunately, it's difficult to find pictures or videos of the interior of the ride at this time. The few media I could find show a continuation of the theming with dungeon walls and beds, chains and medieval iron gates. Spiders hung over a helix, and a large fan might have been used for a wind effect. The shipping container suggests other themed elements, and the beginning of the braking section and the return to the station was enclosed by a rotating drum, like those found in ghost trains. And since this was the early 1990s, I'm betting lasers were used somewhere as well. One passenger told of a large gorilla head that was passed 3 times and that roared loudly. This head was also taken to the city center on a little promotion tour for the ride. Since we don't have anything else to show, let's talk some stats and keep in mind that this ride is set up and dismantled several times a year. The track is 860 meters or 2,800 feet long, reaches a height of 18 meters or 60 feet, and can hit a top speed of 80 km per hour, which is 50 miles per hour. The ride's footprint measures 49 by 29 meters, which is 160 by 95 feet, with a maximum facade height of 32 meters, which is 104 feet. During the most recent reconstruction, the front of the ride may have been significantly raised to create an even more striking appearance. 3 trains, each with 11 cars, carry passengers on this thrilling 2.5-minute journey for a capacity of 1,400 people per hour. The ride used a friction wheel drive, and during the first reconstruction, a booster lift was installed in front of the drop. Ride's layout, which was designed by legendary engineer Werner Stengel, remains largely unchanged, so I'll do my best to provide a brief description of this chaotic ride. Since there isn't a good video from the Magic Mountain era, a modern on-ride video is used here for reference. Keep in mind that this is a spinning roller coaster in the dark, but luckily this video was taken with a stationary camera and even has the maintenance lights switched on for us. The train departs from the station with a right-hand turn heading into the interior of the attraction. After passing a small decorative feature, it ascends a small friction wheel lift. The ride then takes another right turn, and along the back wall it begins to climb the larger lift hill. This section is separated from the main part of the ride with a couple of themed wall elements. However, it doesn't reach its highest point until after another right turn and a boost from the friction wheels. The track then heads outdoors for a brief moment, showcasing the prominent drop. A wide right-hand turn brings the train back into the tent, where it crosses diagonally through it. A wide left-hand turn completes the first half of a figure eight and marks the first change of direction on the track. At the back wall, the train descends through a small valley before taking another turn towards the left, right behind the front wall. Another set of friction wheels serve both as a lift hill and a block brake before the train plunges into a wide left-hand curve. This leads into a diagonal section where for the first time the train drops to the lowest point of the ride. An uphill right-hand curve then completes the figure eight that began 2 levels above. This is followed by a sweeping S-curve at ground level and a wide right-hand curve. A small hill and the final fast right-hand turn follow, and the ride is almost over. The brake tunnel and transfer tracks are located at the rear wall, and from there the train leisurely makes its way back into the station. This layout bears all the hallmarks of a Werner Stengel design, expertly building anticipation with sweeping wide turns before releasing their tension with fast intense sections. All this in a very small space to make the ride transportable. The ride was a success for years until unfortunately the public's interest drifted away from the fantasy theme. To keep up with its audience, the ride underwent its first transformation. Chapter 2 Star World, 1998 to 2006. In 1998 there was a complete shift, moving away from the fantastical Magic Mountain filled with dungeons, dragons and devils. The 90s had ushered in an era of space exploration and sci-fi adventures. Now distant planets and far-off galaxies were all the rage, and Star Wars had become a cult classic. Once again, the Rinaldi family tapped into the zeitgeist and created a massive space-themed attraction. Star World was born. Inspired by Star Wars, this vast cosmic adventure captivated visitors until 2006. Calling it inspired is definitely an understatement though. A more accurate description would be blatant rip-off, with figures of C-3PO, R2-D2 and Darth Vader as decorations, the T-Wing ticket booth, along with a name that sounds strikingly similar. They even played the Star Wars theme music, but also had their own score written exclusively for the ride later on, but I could not find any samples of that. In later years, apparently because of legal issues, some of the decorations changed. C-3PO was painted green, R2-D2 was outfitted with wheels and painted orange, and Darth Vader was replaced by this guy. In front of the ride, the large animated Galactor now replaced the retired gorillas. He invited and entertained the audience and told stories about space, other planets and cultures. Galactor towered over the fairground and was almost as popular as the ride itself. And look at that, the climbing guy is still around. Inside there were new animatronics featuring aliens and spacemen, along with lasers and a fireball effect just before the final break. Rumors say the spiders were also still being used at the end of the ride. Though there is a complete POV video of the ride at this point, due to the nature of the ride being enclosed and spinning and the video quality of handheld cameras at the time, you can see absolutely nothing. Nonetheless, thank you to the brave person that possibly almost destroyed their expensive video equipment for this historic if blurry video. You will find the link in the description. But times changed once again, and new planning work began in 2005. Klaus Rinaldi Jr. was so impressed by the Indiana Jones movies that he wanted to recreate the theme as an indoor roller coaster. After about 2 years of planning, it became a reality in 2007. Chapter 3 Höllenblitz, 2007 to today. In 2007, a new concept was introduced. The Höllenblitz made its debut at the Stuttgart Frühlingsmesse. The ride returned to its mountain theme, but this time instead of Magic Mountain, passengers raced through an old mine. The front of the ride is riddled with many lovingly crafted details. There is a 300 square meter rock formation featuring a waterfall and several mountain huts and bridges. Miner Rusty and the mountain spirit Ötzi welcome you on a thrilling mine ride. And yes, the climbing guy is back as well. The amount of detail on this iteration of the ride is above and beyond anything else on the fairgrounds. The outer tracked section behind the booster lift was also modified. Instead of only half a drop over the station's roof, the drop was extended, now plunging all the way to the ground in front of the waterfall at the center of the attraction. Inside, new themed elements have been added as well. A small animated scene inside a mine at the very beginning and rock walls along the lift hills. An LED net shaped like a funnel now hangs at the center, though it's meant to represent a sparkling stone vault. For most riders it kind of looks like a Christmas tree. The rotating tube on the brake run has been replaced with an LED tunnel, and the fire effect was moved to the second lift hill. Just the spiders are nowhere to be found. In 2020, the ride took a break from the funfairs at Serengeti Park Hodenhagen. During that stay at Serengeti Park, the ride was thoroughly maintained and received new trains and control systems. The trains have also been lengthened, now consisting of 15 cars each. In this form, Höllenblitz has been touring German fairgrounds for over 15 years now and is expected to remain a fixture for years to come, despite 2 minor accidents likely caused by overloaded and possibly aging motors. Fortunately, no one was killed in these accidents and the injuries were minor. But what's with the supposed connection with Schwarzkopf? Is there any evidence, aside from the owner's claims, that Schwarzkopf actually built this ride? Chapter 4 – Schwarzkopf. The official Höllenblitz website claims the Magic Mountain was the last roller coaster to leave the former Schwarzkopf factory site in Münsterhausen. The company was forced to file for bankruptcy during construction. Klaus Renoldi promptly completed the ride himself. The company Schwarzkopf went into bankruptcy starting in 1983. By 1985, during the construction of the now defunct Mindbender at Edmonton's Galaxyland, Anton Schwarzkopf had long been excluded from any direct involvement in the manufacturing process. When the accident occurred, he could not be held accountable in a court of law due to his non-involvement in the construction. During the bankruptcy, several companies, including Zierer, Bayerischer Hüttenstahl and Gerstlauer, helped complete some of the remaining projects. Once the bankruptcy was resolved, a group of former Schwarzkopf employees formed the company Stein and purchased the production plant. Now in this fabled book by author Klaus Schitzmanski, we can find a list of all of engineering office Stengel's projects, who was Anton Schwarzkopf's secret weapon and worked with him on almost every production. The Magic Mountain, the first iteration of the ride now known as Höllenblitz, was project number 9022 Inner Coaster Renoldi by engineering office Stengel. The ride was built by Stein, designed by Stengel, and its layout was also by Stengel. The name Schwarzkopf is nowhere to be found here. Stein is also mentioned as made by on rcdb.com. However, since Stein also ran into financial trouble during the construction of Magic Mountain, the ride was completed by showman Renoldi himself. How and where this happened is unknown. In 1992, the Münsterhausen production plant was sold to Hubert Gerstlauer. In conclusion, while it's technically true that some parts of the ride were manufactured at the old Schwarzkopf plant, and some parts of the Schwarzkopf company may have been involved in the creation of this ride, years after Anton's direct involvement in development and construction, one of the key elements that defined a Schwarzkopf roller coaster is already missing: Anton's personal touch. His meticulous attention to detail and hands-on approach in overseeing every aspect of a ride had been absent for several years. In my opinion, however, the ride clearly bears the unmistakable signature of Anton Schwarzkopf's right-hand man, engineer Werner Stengel, who was largely responsible for Schwarzkopf's success in roller coaster design. A transportable project of this size, featuring what were then innovative rotating gondolas, seems like exactly the kind of challenge that Werner Stengel would have relished. Whether it's a Schwarzkopf creation or not, one thing is certain: Magic Mountain, Star World and Höllenblitz are truly magnificent, unique fairground attractions from a golden era in German fairground history. So if you ever find yourself in a major German city during the funfair season, make sure to keep an eye out for this one-of-a-kind attraction. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and see you next time.